audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So we know the reason why we are all gathered here, right? We're aiming to target, it is written 90%, but then our target is around 95, 99, right? Which is not impossible. So let's see how do we go about with it. There are certain things which you already know in the class, and this is just a reiteration session. Fine. I'm open to the questions at the end. You may ask the questions, whatever you have related to whatever discussion we have here. So going into a very brief description of what exams and all, you know, that is just to test your knowledge, right? It is not going to determine anything. Something which is very important for English examination is the time management, right? Reading of the question paper, analysis and understanding of the questions that we keep repeating in the class so many times. Those things are very important. Fine. Now, when we talk about the kind of analysis of the question, I think you first need to figure out that what kind of a question is that, right? Your question pattern calls for a multiple choice. It has short answer questions. It has long answer questions, right? Anybody who is aware about the marking scheme? Long answers are of 6 marks, right? And then what is the marking scheme of English paper? 6 marks, then 3 markers. There are 2 markers and there are 1 markers as well. Isn't it? When you need to speak so that I know that I'm...
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Correct. So you need to avoid cramming. That is not required for English at all. Understanding is what is required. You need to set up your schedule to review everything a day before. If required, use a planner. If you are a very, diligent planner, then now, when you get your papers, children, first in the board examination, the first sheet that will be attached, that's a perforated sheet, which will be attached to your supplementary sheet, that will contain your basic information. So I would not go much into this, but your first setup or the first thing that you need to begin with is to fill up that details, in a very effective way. So look at the last point. Last and the second last point, you need to read the instructions very carefully, then skim the paper to make sure that you have got all the instructions right. Highlight and focus on the words like solve, comment, expand, evaluate, rationalize. These are the common verbs that can include the, the magic of the question paper lies in this. Now, time management is very crucial in English paper, hence cater to the word limit. The paper is already divided into the sections, and you know that there are 3 hours which has been allotted to you. Now, how exactly are we going to attempt the paper? What I tell to the students is that the first 2 passages, we have a stipulated time to finish the first 2 passages. Nevertheless, you can always begin the paper with section B, that is your grammar section, followed by writing skill. Then you move to section C, which is literature, all the questions. And at the end, you can come and solve the reading comprehensions. One thing that we should note is that under no circumstances we should be shuffling the questions. For example, you just cannot do one question of reading comprehension and then suddenly you take up question number 3, which is grammar, and then again one question of literature. So avoid those kind of shuffling until and unless it is very much required. Okay, so comprehension questions, it has to be done with the skim and the scan process. A comprehension question is very brief, so you have to pick up the answer from the question itself. Most of the times we do not ask for your own opinions, but yes, the new question paper design does ask for your understanding and analytical skills and comprehending skills of the comprehensions. Letters, the business letters are there, letter to the editor and all of that. Learn the, beginnings and ending of each type of letter. This clue, I think your teachers have given. This is very beneficial, children. remember this. Remember the beginning and the end. Like, for example, if I have to cite an example, if you're writing a complaint letter, you can always keep the first paragraph as I am deeply constrained to bring to your notice regarding the, right? Do you get that? And then you need to add the question. Am I making myself very clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
So the beginning has to be like that. Similarly, the ending of each kind of business letters, children, be it a complaint, be it inquiry, be it placing an order, or be it a formal letter, that is letter to the editor, or the new addition to the board is that they can ask you to write any kind of formal letter. When I say any kind of formal letter, that means that, let's say you ordered some materials and then you did not receive them on time. That also you're supposed to write a letter of inconvenience to the bookseller or to the dealer. So these kind of letters should also can also come. So if it is something like that, apart from the structured letter that we do in the curriculum, if something like this comes, then you have to be very quick in analyzing what will be the starting line. Like starting line, what I mean is that what will be the subject line. For example, if you are writing a letter of complaint, so I always emphasize that the letter of complaint should begin with complaint regarding, right? Inquiry regarding. Like that. So in case if you are writing a letter of inconvenience, you need to use those verbs. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So no usage of comma and all of that in the address and all that thing. Now this slide talks about the long answer type questions, which are the extrapolative ones, which are of 6 marker. Now, ideally, these sentences, they begin with a proverb or a saying that you have been doing these kind of questions and you know. So, this is one of the ways how what is mentioned on the screen. Okay, that it has been rightly said. What I mean to say is that you may quote that particular statement, you can elaborate the particular proverb what is there in the question paper, you can define that further. So first paragraph should have the elaboration of the saying, the second paragraph should have the textual content, and the third paragraph should have the point of extrapolation. Point of extrapolation and values are very, very important. In case you do not write the point of extrapolation, you will be assessed accordingly. Do not, remember this thing, under any circumstances, you are not supposed to write only the summary of the chapter. The summary of the chapter doesn't fetch you complete marks. Definitely the theme and the message can be of great help. So revise and redo the theme and the messages of all the chapters. This is what I actually emphasize the students to believe in. It is known as FMF, which is a 15 minutes funda. Now, CBSE gives you the paper 15 minutes in advance, and your 100% attempts depends upon the utilization of this time. So you use these 15 minutes to read out the comprehension passages. I have been reiterating this in the class quite a number of times because the other particular section doesn't want you to comprehend anything. Correct? So try and fix or try and practice to utilize these 15 minutes only to read the reading comprehensions, because you won't have much time to devote to these questions later on, remember. So that 15 minutes when you get, you try to find out the answers to. The invigilators will not allow you to write anything in the question paper. Ideally, we are not supposed to. So very subtly, you can take a pencil and just put 2 dots in identification of the answers. Any questions here? Any questions, anybody, for the reading comprehensions, or am I clear?
Yes.
All right. Now, this is something, something will come out of something. This is, why is it important? Because attempt of all the questions is required. Remember, the beauty of English language is there is no sample and no model answer as to be a right or a wrong answer. You all know this, right, children? There is no answer as right and there is no particular answer as wrong until and unless the content is right. So your first motive should be that I should be attempting all the 13 questions, right? Do not leave any question untouched. right? Because you have written something, remember, something related to the chapter, what you know, you will get something. That is not a 0, but something. This is of the worst case I'm talking about. Now, English paper is lengthy. Y'all have always this common concern that English paper is lengthy. So to look at it, so you do not have much time to waste. Hence, it is better that you give 15 seconds more, to read a question carefully rather than losing that 15 minutes in writing the answer, which has not been asked for. This has been our each and every teacher's repeated concern. The students fail to understand the meaning of the question. Remember one thing, if you fail to understand the meaning of the questions, you will not be able to compose a correct answer what has been asked. Okay. Long answer type questions may include character sketches as well. The supplementary book, there'll be 2 questions, one from the textbook and one from the supplementary book, supplementary reader. And you need to attempt both the questions with the mindset to fetch full 6 on 6. So do not write the question, write only the answers, and do not forget to write the question number. These are very basic things. I know what I'm talking about, but yes, these are important, very, very important, because at times when we take up the exam, we become so anxious that not with the conscious mind, but we at times tend to, ignore all of these minute details. Very important, write the answer in the same tense in which the question has been asked. Most of the time, we ask the children because there are certain statements which will be in present tense. So you can use any of the forms of present tense to compose that particular answer. And if the question is something like, why did Lencho write a letter to God? Then of course, you know that in which tense the answer has to be given. Okay, this is just your, the blueprint or the typology of the question at glance. You may just go through. 20 marks is of the reading section, which is further divided into 2 comprehensions of 10 marks each. Now, let me tell you the total number of questions in the comprehensions are not 10, but 8. Okay, it's because there are 2 questions in each comprehension carrying 2 marks each. Grammar, you need to attempt 10 out of 12 questions will be attempted. These are the topics which you can see in this white ink are the topics that you need to revise and be very, very thorough with. Those are determiners, tenses, modal, subject-verb agreement or subject-verb concord, and reported speech. These things will be tested directly or indirectly for gap filling, editing, and the other grammatical exercises like reported speech will be an exclusive statements. And these topics, if you revise again, I'm sure you'll be able to solve gap filling as well as editing. Then you have creative writing section. 1 out of 2, there'll be internal choices in grammar as well, but then we always advise children to attempt all 12 in grammar because it is always best of 10. In the creative writing, there'll be internal choices, formal letters. Remember one thing, if a formal letter has an option of any one of the business letters, then the advice is to go for business letters. Any reason for that? Any reason why I'm emphasizing on that?
Because it is easier to write, like it is already composed, most of it.
It is already composed. The structure is quite easy. It's well defined, correct? So you should try and attempt the business letter if it has been given as an option. Any questions here?
No, ma'am.
Anyone? No questions? Okay. Analytical writing, so far we know, if the data is given, it's very easy to infer. But remember one thing, only inference is not required, children, right? Only inference is not required. What you need to do is that the analysis of the entire data is also a must. So to make the analysis, what we need to do is to study the data well. And those verbs like which has shot up, declined, had been composed, has been in the similar lines. You need to use these kind of words to analyze or to find out that whether your inference of the entire data given is right. Most of the time, the kind of mistakes that the students do is they just take the data and they replicate it in the paper. That's not going to fetch you full marks until and unless the analysis has been made. There is an ideal way to structure the analytical paragraph, especially the first and the last paragraph. Anybody who would like to talk on how do we compose, what is the standard first paragraph of an analytical paragraph?
Ma'am,
Anyone?
like
Given that
first.
Yes. Yes. Rishabh, right? Yes,
Yeah.
Rishabh. Yeah.
I like first what we do is in the first paragraph we write what is the above given information talking about.
Like put it in words. The following.
The above table represents this about a particular thing, and then second paragraph we write the analysis in which we compare, and then in third we write the most case scenario and the least case scenario.
Wonderful, brilliant. Any point of contention here? Anybody?
Ma'am, in the last paragraph, I think we write our opinion about the
opinion is when it is being asked to you in the question. That's when you are supposed to give the opinion. Understand one thing, the difference between writing an article and the difference between writing a letter to the editor and the difference of writing an analytical paragraph. If it is given in the question that you need to suggest ways, that's when you're supposed to suggest ways, because our task is to just write and figure out the analysis of the given data. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Any further questions here? No? So we move ahead with literature. Literature will have two reference to the context. Again, those will have internal choices. There will be one extract from a drama or a prose. You have only one drama, I suppose, in your entire text. There will be one extract from the poetry. So out of the poetries, you can take up the one which you are very, very thorough with. Now remember, these particular extract can have a multiple choice, can have objective types, will have 1-2 marker for sure. Okay. Now question number 8, 9, 10, and 11, which is your short answer questions. Then you need to attempt 4 out of 5 from the text, that is first flight. Then you have to attempt any 2 out of 3 from the supplementary reader, footprints without feet. And again, then question number 10 and 11 is an extrapolative question, wherein again, there will be internal choice between 2 questions from first flight and 2 questions from footprints without feet. Okay. Now there is an ideal structure to write the extrapolative question, which we will discuss at the end, or in case you have any doubts, then we can further proceed. These are the lessons that are there. This is something of your internal marks, which will add up to the 80 marks that you score. This particular site is very important. Children, pay attention. This ideally try to emphasize when you sit to write the paper, try and take a snap of it. Try to adhere to this time bound given. Okay. For example, the discursive passage, look at the time given. 5 minutes reading time. Is the screen quite visible? Because this image is not very clear. Just let me know if it is, if you can manage to read it. It says there are 8 questions, 5 minutes reading time, 2 minutes per question is an ideal distribution of time. 4 minutes extra given to club up or make a total of 25 minutes. Same goes for the case-based passage. There will be 8 questions, 5 minutes reading time, 2 minutes to solve each question, or 2 minutes per question. Here also you have 4 minutes extra. So 25 is almost, I think, 50, right? 50 minutes. You should be able to complete the reading comprehension. That's an ideal time. Then you begin with the grammar section, 1 mark each. So 1 minute per question, which incorporates the time to 10 minutes. Analytical paragraph, 15 minutes. Formal letter, 15 minutes, which is the maximum time given, I suppose. If students are very, very thorough with how are they supposed to construct the letter or the paragraph, It should not take more than 10 minutes. So here also you have 5 minutes plus 5 minutes extra. Then I come to extract based question, 4 parts each. So there'll be 2 questions, 4 minutes each reading time plus 2 minutes per question. So 30 minutes is the maximum time that 6 minute extra is given here. Are you able to see, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So this is what, this much duration you need to solve the extract based question. You should try to solve even before that so that you get good quantum of time revising. Remember one thing, it is very, very important to revise the English paper. Very important. Okay. Then I come to the short answer questions, which is of 3 marker each. 6 questions will be there. You need to attempt 4 questions. So the ideally 4 minutes per question, which is equivalent to 25 minutes. Okay. Then long answers type questions, then you need to attempt only 2 questions, 8 minutes per question. So when you sit to write a paper at home, if this thing is kept under consideration, I am sure we'll be able to finish the paper within the given time, and you will save on 10 minutes for revision. You need to have or procure 10 minutes for revision for sure. Okay. Believe in yourself and remember that you need to, nobody can help you better than your own self. So don't depend on others and give the best of your performances. Right. I would like to take up some questions if there are any.
Ma'am, like,
Yes.
as
Yes,
you
Rajvi.
told, there are 12 questions in the grammar section. Then, can we do like we attempt all the 12 and the best
You
out of?
should attempt all the 12, Rajvi. That was the instruction given. You should attempt all the 12. The best of 10 will always be considered.
Because the whole academic year, the according to the papers that have been like examined, it's like the first 10 are considered and the last 2 are not considered. That's why.
No, Rajvi, it's not like that. For the board evaluation perspective, it is best of 10. Correct?
Okay.
Even in error and omission, in errors, editing. Now, this is just for your knowledge, children. For the editing part, when the board people evaluate your paper, in the school level examination, we try and give 0. But if the correct answer, if the correction is not correct, we give 0. But in the board paper, if you are able to identify the error as to be right, you get half marks for that. That's the distribution. Correct?
Ma'am, can we do the same, like attempting all the questions for literature also?
Rajvi, that will take a lot of your time. So that you mean to say that you are going to attempt all 5 questions and you are going to attempt all 3
No,
questions.
for the short questions of the literature.
Short questions there are, which is the short question you're talking about, Rajvi? There are only 3 markers.
Yes, the same one.
So the 3 markers you want to attempt. So 3 markers should have the good content, Rajvi. So think about if you are attempting 1 question extra means you are giving your 5 minutes extra. That is a discussion we made, right? Regarding the time management. One
Yes, ma'am.
question should ideally take 4 to 5 minutes. 4 minutes is what was given over there. So now if you are saying that, ma'am, should I attempt all 5 questions? You may attempt, Rajvi, but then let me tell you, if your first 4 questions are flawlessly written, then it will be, the last question will be written as extra and it will not be assessed. It will be evaluated for sure, but teacher will not give you the marks for that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay. So there is, see, Rajvi, the thing is, when we sit for the examination, we need to be very diligent in our time management. That's very, very important, right? So unnecessarily writing more will not give you any outcome. Like rather you will lose on the time. Rather than that, make your writing skills quite constructive. Okay, Rajvi?
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Right. Anyone else? Yes, Rishabh?
Ma'am, in the poem Fog, there was one question written, like what were the 3 measures suggested by the poet in the fog, and why was the fog compared to the cat? So, ma'am, I was able to answer the why was the fog compared to cat. Can you please explain the 3 measures suggested by poet?
Measures of what?
Yeah, ma'am, that I had the issue.
So you need to tell me the complete question, no? Measure for what?
Okay.
What
Ma'am,
are the three measures?
ma'am, like, was it related to hardships regarding?
No, it was, see, the fog, entire poetry has been divided into structure, that is appearance, presence, and disappearance. So these are the three parts. Are you
Okay.
getting it, Rishabh? There
Yes.
are the three stages of fog. That doesn't tell you about, exactly what you asked was not the question. There are three stages of fog, right? First is appearance, how it comes stealthily, correct? Then its presence, it sits on his haunches.
Yes.
Did we read this? It sits on his haunches, that's the presence. And then it disappears.
Yes.
So these are the three phases,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Yes?
Yes,
Yes, next, please.
yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I had a doubt about who was exactly Percival, because in a question there was asked, why is Custard compared to Percival?
Yeah. The reference of the word Percival was King Arthur's legendary knight, somebody who was portrayed as to be very, very mightiest, right? So when pirate takes the entry, he has been portrayed as something, buddy who belongs from the family of King Arthur, somebody as mightiest as King Arthur. But then he was immediately gulped by Custard the dragon. So the poetic device was also must have been discussed in the class. What is that poetic device when we take the
Allusion.
reference of, yeah?
Allusion.
Yes. So the entire motive to use allusion is that only. We take the reference from the mythological characters, right? Like similarly in your poetry, Amanda, as well. I hope you know that. A mermaid and Rapunzel.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Actually, in
That's a
our
good question. Though.
ma'am,
Yes,
actually,
yes.
in our class, Shweta ma'am said that Percival was a coward knight.
See, now how he was put up over there, portrayed in the entire poetry, that is what ma'am must have meant, like that way.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, next. Anything else, children? Come on, this forum is for the discussion. I'm waiting.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
the structure for the extrapolation, ma'am, you were about to. Ma'am,
Sorry.
the extrapolatory answers, ma'am. So, ma'am, can you please explain how we have to answer them?
Okay. Extrapolative questions are supposed to be answered in 3 paragraphs, ideally, correct? The first paragraph should have the elaboration of the saying or elaboration of the proverb which has been added there, okay? The second paragraph should purely have the textual references as in, if you want to, whatever are your point of view related to the particular saying which has been put up in the question, you need to write that from the text. And the last part of the paragraph should have the point of extrapolation. For example, if I take up the question as Wali was a meticulous planner, okay? Justify the statement with the reference from the chapter, Madam Rides the Bus. So how are we going to take up this question? What should be the first paragraph?
Ma'am, like at first we have to elaborate that why she was
Wali is a meticulous planner, right? So what are you going to write about that?
Ma'am, like she first asked people about the bus ride. She took all the details which are essential. She took the note down the timings when she would come, when she would expect, she would estimated to come back, when what was the bus ride, and where would it stop. So all of these things, Wali, she did it beforehand before she got into the bus. So like all.
Correct. So you will talk about how was she a meticulous planner in the first paragraph. That is one way. The another way, if you cannot write, so the protagonist This is another way of writing the first paragraph. The protagonist from the chapter, Madam Rides the Bus, comma, Vali was a meticulous planner, or you can also write written by so-and-so was a meticulous planner. Okay. Then this completes your first paragraph. Then you need to give all those instances, right? Her managing the fare, then how she controlled her temptation, how did she take up the ride, all of those things you need to put up in your content in the second paragraph. And in the third paragraph, there should be a point of extrapolation, that how much is a meticulous planning required before the execution.
Okay.
Understood? So when you write about why was this meticulous planning required from Vali's end, that will be your point of extrapolation. Point of extrapolation means something which you can extrapolate beyond the text, which is not mentioned in the text anyway. But we have learned it from the chapter. Isn't it? Didn't we learn, what did we know about Vali's trait? Didn't we learn that she was a meticulous planner? She planned the things very, very well.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, like, can we say like Vali was like Raji from the Tea of Assam, because Raji also had a lot of information regarding before he went there, and Vali was also.
Yes, both of them had a good researching skills.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
there
So,
was
like,
a question, no, in the pre-board, similar kind of a question.
but like it was really Robert. I think it was the hemlock tree and the oak tree. I'm not sure.
Okay, fine, hemlock tree and oak, but one of the sets, I don't know where did I remember going through this question, which says that both of them were equally good in their researching skills, and
Yes,
how
ma'am,
do
it was
you,
in set B.
yeah, how do you analyze both the characters? Okay, so yes, both of them, they did their homework well before executing the task.
Okay, ma'am.
Both are great explorers, and
Yes.
this was something very good.
Yeah. Yes, children, anything else? Anything else? You need to ask. No other questions? Sure?
No.
Okay. Fine then, if there is nothing else. I was though anticipating about, I wanted to emphasize more on the extrapolative, because that is where we see the students, they lose marks. So remember the structure that has been discussed. Try and adhere to that kind of a structure. It's going to help you. And secondly, the writing skills, what we talked, remember the first and the last paragraph, try to replicate it in the same way. And as for the question, what is there, just twist the content. So be smart in attempting the paper, and there is a full probability to score and get 100 on 100 in English. So sit in the examination hall with that perspective. Clear?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, I have this question, ma'am. Can you give a few more examples of characters which can be compared and on what basis? Like
Few
we compare Vali and Rajni.
Similar characters
Yes,
is
ma'am.
what you are talking about.
Yes,
Poonam.
ma'am.
All right, all right. So see, there can be basically chapters with the same theme. If we talk about education, then which is the other chapter which talks about education? One is Bholi and another one is collateral theme. Education is in Poonam, you have to equally participate. So one was
Ma'am, are you
Bholi.
able to hear me?
Yeah, I am able to hear you. So
ma'am, we can see in Hari Singh also that he wanted to become an educated
Correct.
person, and
Correct.
so Richard
The role
Ebright.
of education, importance of education from the perspective of Hari Singh and from the perspective of Bholi. Is there a difference?
Sorry, ma'am, your voice is breaking. Can you repeat?
Okay. What I asked is importance of education in terms of Hari Singh and importance of education in terms of Bholi. How both of them they perceived education is. Is there a difference?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, there's a
Ma'am,
major difference.
Yes, ma'am.
Bholi did not know the essence of education, but Hari Singh was aware that if he's educated, he will be able to lead a better life. Isn't it? We have read it in the text. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Same way, there can be similarity between Amanda and this one, Vali. Okay. There can be dialogues between hemlock tree and the oak tree. There can be, so what I mean to say, Poonam, is that the chapters that has a common theme can have a common question or similar questions.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else?